Swadika everyone. I met a very interesting girl. I would like to introduce her to you because I think she has a very interesting life. So let's start with asking her to introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Demia. I'm 20 years old and I was born and raised in Munich, Germany. And I moved out like 3 years ago and I had a little journey through Germany and some other countries, and now I'm living in Austria and just finished pilot school.
I have never met any girl who studied to be a pilot. Especially, she's so beautiful and so cute to me. So I would like to know, why would you like to be a pilot?
When I was 15, I did an exchange year in Canada on Vancouver Island. And my host mom worked at the seaplane company, which takes you from Vancouver Island to Vancouver. And I got the chance to sit in a cockpit or to fly in a cockpit. And I don't know, it just happened. Ever since I knew I wanted to be a pilot, and I really annoyed my dad. And so the journey started. And yeah, like from that day on, it was basically just a matter of when can I finally fly and not if I want to be a pilot.
So the way to search for the school that you can study for being a pilot, and also as the situation of the world as is being right now, is it difficult for you to find a school?
So becoming a pilot can be very expensive if you have to pay it privately. So it's basically, you can imagine it like a driver's license. So if you have enough money, basically anyone could do it. Mm-hmm. But since we're talking about a lot of money, you basically need someone to pay it. So living in Europe, the most common thing for us is to apply at the Lufthansa Group, which is like the biggest airline. So after I graduated, that's what I did. And you have to go through some assessments. I think they can be pretty tough. And once you made that, they will sponsor your training. So I was very lucky to get in, and that's how I did the training. And I was 1 year in Bremen, which is in northern Germany, finishing all the theory works and having all the exams, which is a pretty tough time because you basically study all the time, since there's quite a lot to know. And then the fun part started, and we went to the United States to start the practical flying phase. And that's when Corona hit it, which was really not nice at the beginning because the whole air industry just pretty much crashed and there wasn't really a need for young pilots. So I was a little lost and I didn't really know what to do because they completely paused our training, and back in 2020 they didn't know if they were ever going to pick it up again. So that was very frustrating. I started to study at a university for a mechanical engineering degree and just reviewed the whole situation, and I also thought about quitting the pilot school because it's so unsecure and you could see what just one pandemic could do to the whole branch. But also with the help of my family, my friends, I finally decided to continue. And so I continued the last half year in Austria. And I think the pandemic really has a bad influence. But for me personally, I also learned that that's the thing I really want to do. And I think if it's your dream, you just fight for it. And of course, the last year has been uncomfortable and often, or I would have imagined it different if you would have asked me 3 years ago. But I'm really glad how things worked. And now I study next to it. And I think that the aviation industry is going to pick up again for sure.
You mentioned about your education. I would like to ask you more about your background education since you were young, because I think many people are interested in what qualification do I need to have if I would like to be a pilot?
So as I mentioned, when you do it privately, you don't even need a high school degree if you do it privately. But since it's so expensive, rarely anyone does that. For applying for an airline to sponsor your training, you need a high school degree. That's pretty much it. You need a high school degree and no criminal background. I didn't even have a driver's license when I started my pilot training because I just turned 18. I just very normal German education. I went to elementary school and then to high school and did a high school degree, and then directly applied when I was 18. I think it's a very rare desire of a job, especially for a girl. Mm-hmm. And when I first started with the idea, my dad was super supportive, but I had a lot of teachers, for example, in school. They were like, yeah, maybe you should think about it, and maybe you just do it as a hobby and you do a good job. And also in the pandemic, I had lots of people telling me to just quit it now.
Yes.
But I think if you really want something and you really work for it, you're going to make it work somehow. And there are opportunities. And there are, I think, 4 or 5 different flight schools around the world who will sponsor your training once you pass certain standards. And I think if you really aim for something, it's going to work out. And I still remember my dad and me going to so many places and watching so many different flight schools. And for me, it always seemed so far away, flying an airplane and being able to finance it. And of course, there were like drawbacks on the way there. And I was very insecure at the beginning. But I think now looking back, it was the best decision. I tried it because if I didn't try, I didn't know if I could do it. And yeah, just now having a pilot's license and knowing that one day I'm going to be flying for my living, yeah, that was worth everything.
I think it is very important about expectations. When you look at many planes are flying over there, and you think one day I will fly it, and your expectations before and after learning, is it much different?
It is different. I think when I first went to flying school, I was still very young and I just graduated, and I was, I think, a little bit in my own little bubble thinking, okay, now I'm going to be a pilot and in 2 years I have a job and everything's perfect. And then especially the stop of my education due to Corona really drew me out a little and shake me a little bit through. And I think now I see stuff much clearer, and I think it's always the same. When you go somewhere, you have expectations, and in the end, it's completely different. And it might have been a tough journey at some times, but in the end, I don't know, it's perfect the way it worked out. So it's definitely different. And also I had to learn that flying is not just about flying an aircraft, but it's also a lot of paperwork before and after. And it's just not the 3 hours you sit in an airplane enjoying it, but it's a lot of studying, a lot of discipline, and also, and I think that's something I completely underestimated, it's being away from friends and family often, it's not having holidays where everyone has holidays. So it does put you into like a parallel world often. And I think that's something I really learned throughout the journey, but yeah.
Yes. I think many people, when we look at a bird flying, sometimes we think it would be nice if I would be able to fly like that. So when you have the power in your hand to fly very far away from one country to another country, how do you feel?
Actually, for me, flying feels a little bit like whenever you put like takeoff power or something, it feels a little bit like the first love. Like I get those butterflies in my belly. Yeah, it's just, it really is a passion. It's not just a job. And I mean, of course, not every flight is like that. Sometimes it's work and sometimes it's tough. But most of the time, it's just this, yeah, it actually, when someone asks me, I said, basically feels like I'm in love with an airplane. Because it's just everything inside of me, it just feels right and it just feels good. And it also, it's a complete different sense of freedom, right? Because you're up there and you are able to fly it, and it's just, yeah, it feels really amazing.
What is the most, the biggest responsibility for being a pilot? What is the most difficult?
I think in a normal daily operation, the autopilot does most of its job. Like you engage it, it flies, and you disengage it shortly before landing. Yeah. I think the hardest thing about being a pilot is that the one situation in your career where something does not work out, you have to be there, and then you're responsible for those 200, 300, 400 people. And maintaining this concentration, even though usually nothing happens and usually everything goes well, but still maintaining it and still monitoring the situation carefully enough to understand when something happens. And then maintaining like a cool brain and maintaining situational awareness and not freaking out. I think that's the hardest point of it.
Have you ever feared being there and something that you think it might happen, something like that? Have you ever had that feeling?
So I did have some situation throughout my training where we just experienced, like one time we were flying single engine when we had some issues with our engine. And it does scare you in the end, but also it gives you confidence because you know that you solved the situation. And I think understanding the physics behind it and understanding why an aircraft flies really helps you to not be scared, because I know that even if my engine, for example, quits, I'm not going to be falling out of the sky like a stone. No, and I think just understanding something often just takes fear away from you. So I don't really feel fear when I'm up there.
I really wonder, how about your driving license nowadays? Do you already have it?
Yes, now I also have a driving license.
Which one is more difficult, flying the airplane and driving a car?
I think flying an airplane.
If you are going to fly right now and you have to tell all the passengers on the airplane, could you please say something to them? Like it is a real situation?
I haven't been flying with passengers yet since I just finished my training.
Yes.
But you mean like a cockpit voice record?
Yeah, like they always do like I am captain this and that and you're flying. Yeah, try it.
No, you make me. Yeah, so you would say something like, "Hello, ladies and gentlemen, here's your first officer Böhme speaking. Welcome on board today with our flight to Bangkok. I hope you have a pleasant flight and enjoy, and we will get back to you once we're airborne."
This looks professional, huh?
It does feel good.
What are your dreams in life that you would like to be? I think this is already a very big step of your life.
So I really want to finish my studies, also for being a mechanical engineer, and also, obviously, I really want to find a job as a pilot. But I think I stopped planning my life that much because I had my life very planned when I was 18 starting it, and then the pandemic hit and everything is different now. But I learned that just things are going to be working out, even if it's in an unexpected way. But I think it will be fine, so I think I'm just going to let life surprise me a little. I know I want to finish my studies, I want to be a pilot. Also privately, I would really like to have a family one day. But yeah, I will just let life does its own thing and surprise me because it's been good so far. So I have like a certain inner trust that it's going to be good.
Would you like to tell everyone or thank someone who's behind your success?
I think there's been many people throughout the journey. My dad is not going to like that now, but I think the biggest support was my dad because he took me serious from the beginning. And I think he believed in me in most situations where I couldn't believe in myself, and he always had my back. Thank you, Dad. I really love you. And also my teachers and my instructors. I had great instructors throughout the way, and I had so many people believing in me and telling me I could do it. And also to my boyfriend who put up with me the last half year, which was definitely the most stressful time in my career. And yeah, I just think that I have a very solid family and friend background who always support me. And also I had a great amount of instructors and other pilots I could learn from and who were very patient with me at some times. So yeah, I think I'm very grateful for most people throughout this 3-year journey now.
Thank you very much, Dimia. It's a big honor to interview you. And for me, it doesn't matter what gender you are. You can be whatever you want. You just be brave to do it and believe and trust in yourself like Dimia has been doing with all her dreams, and now her dreams become true. Thank you so much for watching us. ขอบคุณค่ะ ขอบคุณค่ะ